Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Sarah here with Furniture Flip by Sarah. And in today's video, I'm going to take you through a mid-century makeover. But in this video, I'm going to be working with some new products. I've tried the virtual Easy Off spray to remove old finishes. I tested it out over on Instagram. I posted a reel for that. But in this video, I'm going to work with it a bit more in depth and kind of experiment and see how to use it, if it's really effective, and really if it's going to affect my overall finish for the piece. So I will be testing that in today's video, and a little bit of history on the piece I'm working on today. My grandma actually thrifted this piece many years ago when she came to Canada, and it's going to be used in my my parents' living room under their TV. So that's super exciting. It's staying in the family, and maybe who knows, one day I will be able to use it in my own home. Let's get started. So here's the piece. You can see the area that I started to test with the Easy Off spray. I'm going to continue to work with that and let you guys know how that works. And then there's also two other doors that go right here that I just removed because I need to re-screw them on to the brackets. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and test out the Easy Off spray on the top. Again, this piece is made with a veneer. You can kind of see there's some damaged areas here. So I'm gonna be staining the sides and the top of this piece as well as the legs. And then I'm gonna be painting these doors over here. I think we're gonna go with an off-white color. So I just need to remove the finish off of the sides. Again, I tested it on the leg and it worked pretty well with steel wool. So I'm gonna go ahead and try this scrubber here again, but this time the steel wool really started to get the finish off. So what you need for this is some gloves. These are just like warm work gloves. It's freezing right now. So I'm just gonna go ahead and spray this Easy Off all over a big section of this piece, and I'm gonna let it sit for probably about 20 minutes before I go ahead and scrub it off. So I'm just gonna shake that up and spray it on. I think I'll just spray the whole top of this piece to make sure I can get a decent amount of it off. And I know there are other products like Stripper that would work probably very similar, but I don't know, I just hate using Stripper. I find it super messy. And I think this might actually work faster and easier, so let's put it to the test on a larger area and see what we can do here. I'm just gonna spray it on pretty thick, and again, I'm gonna let it sit for about 20 minutes. So while the top is soaking, I'm gonna go ahead and scuff sand these drawers. They just go inside this door here. And then to scuff sand, I'm just gonna go ahead and use my Surf Prep. I just have a 120, I believe, grit sanding sponge on here, and this is the detailed sander. I'm just gonna go ahead and use this to give everything a quick scuff sand. So I've let this Easy Off oven cleaner sit for about 20 minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and start scrubbing it off to see if it's ready to come off. I don't know for such a large surface if this is really gonna work. I did test it again on the legs and it did work pretty good. So I'm wondering if it's more for detailed areas, smaller pieces. We're gonna see how it does on the top. I would also recommend using a mask because, again, these are pretty harsh chemicals we're working with. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'll try it with the scrubber. You can see when I tested it, some did come off. It's almost like a dew. And I feel like this might even be good just to do before sanding, just to remove a lot of that dirt and grime and even some of the stain. So this doesn't really get much off. I can see like the color is dirty and it looks like the stain, but nothing crazy. I'm gonna go ahead and with the steel wool. And I'm not really seeing a huge difference here. And again, maybe because this is veneer, it's not gonna work. Maybe it only works on the solid wood. Because I am not seeing much of a difference at all. Yeah, I really don't see anything happening. So I'm just gonna finish scrubbing this, cleaning it. I think I'm just gonna go ahead and sand it. And then I will try again with the legs and see where it gets me. Again, this product was only, I think it was about $5. So if it works for the legs, I would be happy to use it on solid wood. Maybe if I let it sit like overnight, it would work, but I honestly don't have that kind of time right now. I want to get this piece done, so I think sanding it might be my best bet. So now I'm just gonna go ahead and wipe it all off. To sand the top, I'm gonna go ahead and use my Surf Prep, but I'm going to be using these 120 grit sandpaper sheets. If I were to use the foam ones, it would just give me a little scuff sand. I wanna get that finish completely off so I can stain it. But it is a veneer, which means it's pretty much glued on to particle board. You wanna make sure you don't sand too far and get through to the particle board, because that will not look too pretty when we go to stain it. So I'm gonna go ahead now and wipe these down with some TSP. I just buy the powder one and dilute it with water. I have it in a little spray bottle. So I'm just gonna go ahead and clean all the doors and drawers and then start priming them. To prime the doors and drawers, I'm gonna go ahead and use by far my favorite primer. This is the Zinsser Bin Shellac Base Primer. You wanna make sure you're working with a shellac based primer when you're painting furniture, because this is gonna block anything that might come through. Sometimes with older pieces, there's cleaning products that are in the wood, and sometimes they'll show up by being little circles, yellow marks a lot of time. With super old pieces, you'll get bleed through, so I always like to use a shellac based primer. And this stuff does smell pretty strong, so I recommend using a mask if you're very sensitive to smell. I just lined my tray with some tin foil, and I'm just going to pour some primer out. I am going to be using a microfiber roller, and then I just have a brush from the dollar store. A tip, if you're working with this primer, wrap up your brush or roller and stick it in the fridge. That way it'll last you a lot longer, and I believe this brush was around $1 or $2. bottom legs, I'm going to go ahead and test a coat of stain on the top and the sides. Because the bottom is solid wood and the top is veneer, I'm afraid the colors are going to look too off from each other. So I'm going to test out the white stain on here, and if it looks good, I think I might just paint the legs. And I will show you guys what I decide later on in the video, but for now I'm going to be using this Minwax stain here. I've never used this stain before. I'll put the stain that I always like to use on the screen here. They're sold out at my local home hardware store, and I haven't been able to get it for a while, so I'm testing this out. This is a water-based stain, and this is in the color White Oak, so it should give us the look we're going for, but again, I've never used it, so I'm excited to test it out. I'm going to start to apply the stain on the side here. I just have some gloves on and an old but clean sock. I really like to use old socks to apply stain. I find it really easy. You can just put it on like a glove, and then I can use the movement of my hand to really apply this. As you can see, I ended up doing one coat of the white stain, and if I can get the camera to focus, this side here looks perfect. It's that nice bleached wood. It looks really nice and clean, but the top, it looks super streaky. The veneer is a totally different shade from this one here, and the side matches the top as well, and that's just not the look we were going for. Again, if all of it was just like this side piece here, you guys can see that is what we were going for. So unfortunately, I'm gonna have to paint all of this. So really, all that work I just did was pointless, but I would have never known unless I tested it. So I think the new design, I am going to sand down this leg here and this top piece. It'll look like that piece I tested there. So we're gonna stain the front legs and then paint everything else. So now I'm just gonna go ahead and start priming. So I'm just using the same shellac-based primer. I'm just gonna go ahead and sadly cover all this up. Up getting 2 coats of primer on the top, the sides, and the front there, and then I'm gonna call it a night. And tomorrow. So it's now the next day, and I'm gonna go ahead and spray this Easy Off cleaner on to the front legs to see if I can remove the rest of this finish. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and let that sit for about 20 minutes. It did work for me before best with the steel wool, so I'm just gonna go ahead in with that. Oh my gosh, literally just from pushing on that, not even that hard, you can see the finishes coming right off. So from testing it on the veneer and the solid wood, you can clearly see it works a lot better on solid wood. I would not recommend it over veneer. It didn't do anything for me. And you can see just from doing that little bit, it's completely coming off. can see that worked pretty well. I'm super impressed with it. So now I'm just going to go ahead and go over the areas I just cleaned off with some sandpaper. I'm just going to use a little sanding block here, or I have some 400 grit sandpaper for my orbital sander, and I'm just going to use one of these little sanding sponges and just wipe any of the excess finish off. So now I'm going to go ahead and use the white stain that I originally tested on the base of this piece. This is in the color white oak, and this is the water-based stain. I'm just going to go ahead and apply one coat to the areas that I just stripped and sanded. So now that this stain has dried, I'm going to go ahead and do 2 coats of this Varathane Diamond Wood finish. This is their polyurethane non-yellowing in a satin finish. To apply it, I'm just going to use my foam brush here, and I'm just going to apply a decent coat on the whole thing, and then once that dries, I will come back in and do a second. So far, using the Easy Off hasn't affected the overall finish of the stain, but I will really be able to tell once this top coat dries. So to paint the piece, I'm going to go ahead and use the color Collingwood by Benjamin Moore. This is in their advanced line. As you can tell, I've used this color a lot and I've destroyed the can, but I will put it up on the screen here. And this color is a beautiful off-white. It's not too creamy and it's not too gray, which I really like. And I think it's going to suit the space. And to apply my paint, I'm going to go ahead and use a microfiber roller. And then I'm going to brush the areas that the roller can't get to first, and then make sure I go over them. This is a key to the super smooth factory finish, is these microfiber rollers. They really give you that factory look. So I ended up getting the doors back on, and I did 3 coats of paint, but I'm going to go ahead and just do a 4th on the doors here and maybe on the backs as well, just to make it look a little bit more cleaner and make sure I got everywhere. Before I go ahead and close out today's video and share the final transformation with you guys, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe if you're not already. I'll see you next week with another furniture flipping video.